we told you the headlines of the Classic Rock News earlier, and I think we'll go into the full stories now, okay? And I know everybody's waiting for that story on the Beatles. Okay, it's coming. But you know we're going to save it to last. Of course we will. Kiss guitarist, vocalist Paul Stanley spoke about adjusting to his new life after the completion of the band's Into the Road farewell tour more than a year ago. He said there are people who are touring constantly because they're empty and because they need that audience positive response. Years ago for me, probably decades ago, he said, that might have been the case, but at this point, it's been incredibly gratifying. The last tour was just a chance to really take in how valuable and how much this has meant to me. But I couldn't keep doing it any more than Michael Jordan could. He says, I've always been more than a musician or performer. I've been an athlete, and you realize you can only do that so long. He says, I've been blessed to do it into my 70s. I think ultimately, hopefully, I would hope that most people find that in life, at some point, you start to narrow down what's really important. And ultimately, what is important is family, friends, and how you feel about yourself. And with all that said, he admits that he misses performing with Kiss, but he's come to terms with the fact that it's simply not going to happen again. And in other news, looks like Ann Wilson, the lead singer of Heart, she has launched her own new podcast. It's called After Dinner Thinks with Ann Wilson. In the pilot episode, Ann sits down with her friend Chris Kane to talk about work, life, home life, the universe, movies, politics, music, dogs, magic, and anything in between. And you can eavesdrop on that conversation. It's on Spotify. A new book coming on the band that I think we all know, The Who, focusing on the early tours of America. It's coming in May, and according to the announcement on The Who's Instagram account, Their Generation, The Who in America, 1967 to 69, that's the name of it, features photos from Tom Wright, the band's official photographer and U.S. tour manager. The book features a foreword by Pete Townsend, and the description notes that Wright's collection captures The Who on and off the stage, from their raw energy at the Fillmore to quiet moments on the road. It's going to drop on May the 1st, but you can pre-order it right now. This day in rock history, February the 19th, known as one of the greatest vocalists in hard rock, Bon Scott of AC/DC passes. He was 33, and it happened on this date in 1980. What a loss. 1972, on this day, Paul McCartney releases Give Ireland Back to the Irish, a song he had written days after the event of Bloody Sunday, in which 13 Irish protesters had been killed by British troops in Northern Ireland. 1977, Bruce Springsteen wrote and performed Blinded by the Light, but it didn't reach the top of the Billboard singles until Manfred Mann did it. And boy, did they do it. Wrapped up like a douche. Yeah. Probably the popularity was because they mispronounced that word. I don't know. I always love that song. 1965, the Beatles recorded the basic track of You're Gonna Lose That Girl at their Abbey Road studio in just 2 takes. This John Lennon song was later released on their Help album, the soundtrack for their movie, of course, of the same name. And speaking of the Beatles, well, you know, redos pay off. getting them a historic win of the 2025 Grammy Awards, awarded for Best Rock Performance from their song Now and Then, song written by John Lennon before he passed on. The Beatles look to continue exploring their newest technology AI has to offer by applying similar techniques to two other songs in their extensive catalog. This was reported by the Japan News. Early remixes of the two anthology songs, Free as a Bird and Real Love, have been screened by Beatles' offspring sons, Sean, who is John's son, and Danny Harrison, who is George Harrison's son, using the same technology that helped create the vocal cleanups that allowed for Now and Then to be released appropriately and enjoyed by fans. A quote from the report states, "I hope for it to be worked out the same way, to remix those original songs using the same technology as we used on Now and Then, because they didn't have that in the 90s, said Danny. He and Sean listened to a version of Free as a Bird, and with the vocals, they were separated from the piano and separated by AI. And we were both very impressed, he said, at how it sounded. There's no official date set yet as to when we'll have the opportunity to hear these brand new mixes of these songs. However, the premise of them being in the works and being approved by some of the closest to the project shows promise that we might see something sooner than later. Coincidentally, the two songs will be celebrating their 30th anniversary of their release in 2025 and 2026, respectively. Just in time, right? And there has been some talk, mumblings about this, because people are kind of asking for it. Like, why not? You've got the technology, clean them up. We want to hear them. And I agree. So something else to look forward for the Beatles. It's ClassX Radio. You can catch these classic rock news updates now on TikTok, YouTube, the ClassX Radio Facebook page, as well as X, Gab, and Truth Social. Yes, we are patriots here. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow to discover classic rock deep tracks, B-sides on ClassXradio.com, also on our TuneIn app and our very own mobile app on your app store. ClassX Radio is rock and roll for boomers and Gen Xers. Thanks for joining us.